This is Team ISAGO. This is a team made up of 8 Chevening alumni from Botswana. Our presenter today will be Keitumetse Mosweu, and answering the questions in the chat box will be Wetsho Mosokwe. So without further ado, we'll hand over to Team ISAGO.
Thank you, Catherine. Greetings, everyone, and I will get straight into it. Can I have the next slide, please? So in Botswana, just like in many other countries of the world, the impacts of climate change has led to increased vulnerabilities, loss of livelihoods, and loss of habitats. The main challenge to adaptation is lack of appropriate climate risk data, which makes planning for adaptation difficult. Adaptation officials do not have a practical outlook of what forms climate risks and vulnerabilities may take. The absence of a policy to address this data gap leaves adaptation planning at the mercy of the imagination of those that are in power, and this runs the risk of perpetuating maladaptation. Next slide, please. So as a solution, what are we proposing? We are saying climate risk management, risk characterization, risk assessment, and the presentation of such data are an integral part to successful adaptation planning. So for Botswana, we are proposing the development of an interactive spatial climate risk data mapping tool at the district level. So what will this tool do? This tool is going to showcase low risk and high risk zones. It is going to allow for the simulation of the number of not only people that are in vulnerable situations, but also vulnerable livelihoods and vulnerable habitats and ecosystem. This tool is not going to rely not only on scientific knowledge, it is going also to draw from the strength of traditional or indigenous knowledge to strengthen the tool even further. Can I have the next slide, please? So how is this tool going to impact communities? This tool is going to allow communities and adaptation officials to visualize climate risk, to visualize the impacts and the vulnerabilities that come from climate risk. And it is going to allow for targeted solutions and interventions instead of generalizations that usually miss the mark. And when interventions are targeted, then it means livelihoods and habitats can be better protected. The tool is going to be also very instrumental in documenting traditional or indigenous knowledge, which can then be passed from generation to generation. This tool is going to increase meaningful participation and engagement of local communities and district officials. Communities are now not going to only be adaptation officials are not only going to be imposing solutions to local communities, but local communities are going to own solutions. They are going to interact with the maps, they are going to add to the maps, and that will lead to a meaningful engagement. This tool also is going to ensure that there is no blanket approach to adaptation, and we are now able to contextualize responses. Adaptation officials will now know which areas are vulnerable and to what extent, and this increases the success of adaptation interventions. The tool is going to improve the availability of data, which is a huge problem, not only in Botswana, but in other developing countries. It is also going to enhance the skills available locally. Can I have the next slide, please? So how are we going to implement this tool? We are proposing for a pilot project within the most vulnerable district. We proposed the Ngamiland district because Ngamiland houses the world's largest Indel Delta, which is the Okavango Delta, which is also home to vast wildlife and human life, and it's also prone to flooding. So we are going to have a collaboration effort between research institutions. Luckily, this area
1 minute remaining.
Institution, we are going to rope in district officials, political leaders, and communities, and they're all going to come together to develop this tool. The process can then be repeated in other districts until a national interactive climate risk map is developed. We are going to also, because we don't want this to be a once-off tool, we are going to propose that development planning policies in district be updated to include this tool. Where are we going to get the finance? Finance can be assessed through the central government, through district savings, district council savings, and money can also be applied from the Adaptation Fund and from the Green Climate Fund. We thank you.
Thanks very much for that. A second time, a very well managed in terms of time. It's fantastic to see you're able to condense all of that information into 5 minutes and keep your time. So thanks very much for that. I will hand over to our judges. Do any of our 3 judges wish to jump in with a question for Team ISAGO?
Yes, I do. This is Tracy and Hyman. Thank you, Team ISAGO, for your presentation. A quick question: which climate risks are you planning to simulate with the tool for your pilot project?
Thank you for that question. The climate risks that we are planning to simulate with the tool are floods, wildfires, loss of habitats due to droughts.
So it's going to be an all hazards map, or you're going to start with one first?
Yes, because for a pilot project, when we start, we'll start with, because we've picked one district to start with, so we'll start with flooding in the Ngamiland district.
Thank you.